Welcome to the Uncontested Investing Show, presented by REI Inc. magazine and sponsored by RCN Capital. Each week, we focus on bringing you candid convos from the best in the biz. Here's your host, Tim Herriage.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Herriage. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today, I'm here with one of the most impressive people I've met this year, Casey Quinn. Casey, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Looking forward to it.
So, we talked earlier. You've actually been listening, so you know the first thing up is the bluff. The bottom line up front, it's really just there's a lot changing weekly in this market. Let's just talk. You got up to 2 minutes. The most important things you see in the market today, things you think people should be doing, things they should be avoiding, the most important part of the day. You got it?
I got it.
Go.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm paying attention to the most right now is what's happening in the rates and how they affect me in my business and in my local markets that I invest in. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I invest in Pittsburgh. We're a small to middle market. We're not national. And therefore, how is the rates climbing impacting our business? We're Burr model investors, right? And so these rates directly impact how we're able to borrow on the refinance end of our investments. So that directly affects our debt service coverage ratio and how we can get our money back out of our deals. Number two, for home buyers, it's affecting the local market and what they can pay. What is their purchasing power? And how is that changing the markets and their ability to buy? Our market locally at Pittsburgh, we have properties sitting on the market for months now, when before the last couple of years, they haven't been. And so what opportunities for that is that creating for us to go out and buy? Look, there's negatives and positives to everything that's going on. And so when the rates are climbing, how is that directly impacting your business? Number two, what I'm paying the most attention to is what's happening within my network and what are the people that I'm paying attention to, the people that I'm following, the education that I'm getting in today's market. What are they saying? What are they doing? How am I then taking that information and applying it back to my business? Some of it could be good. Some of it could be bad. We have to be able to think through and process that information in a fantastic way and apply it directly to what we're doing.
So that's good stuff, man. Because as I look through the winter, values are still a very important part of the Burr model.
Absolutely.
You got to get an appraisal, right? There's a loan to value on the back end. And if a market, I won't say if we, right? Because you and I talk about this all the time. Markets are different. But if a market has another 5% slide and you were buying at 75 and you needed to refi at 75, you just have to plan for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for our business, right, with the rates doing what they're doing, the property values have not come down enough that the Burr model is making sense for us right now, because we still are paying a heavier price, but our debt service coverage, what we're paying on a monthly basis, we can't afford the back end to get out of those. And so right now we've had to shift our model. We were doing 10, 12, 15 deals on a monthly basis in the Burr for the past 2.5 years. Right now we're averaging about one a month. So it's been tremendous change in our business.
So let's talk about your business. Why don't you actually just take a minute and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 4 years ago, I was fired from my job. Had zero real estate experience at the time, didn't know what I was about to do in my future. Went into this real estate business, found my partner. We've built a $70 million portfolio in the past 3.5 years. We didn't start with any money, so we had a Burr model. Working with folks like yourself on the hard money front end, borrowing, understanding, hey, we've got to do whatever it takes. Didn't matter what the price of that was. And so we started Burr model investing and built our portfolio, and we built a $17 million a year revenue company off of that.
So in how many rental units is that?
Right now, it's about 520 doors. It's about 225 properties. So that's our mixture, about 160 single family homes. And then, at about a year and a half in, we realized we could value add properties at the multifamily level, whether it be duplexes, triplexes, which, right, they're not necessarily multifamily. And then we've recently got into more of the commercial multifamily space, 5 up to our largest now, which is 43.
There is less competition there ultimately in that mid-market.
And it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. You come out here to Dallas or anywhere else, and the prices are totally different.
The management on that many units with only 4 years true experience, that's got to be super hard.
Yeah, we certainly had our growing pains when it comes to the management of it. And so for us, in my previous background in corporate America, I really wanted to take a business approach first And so to me, it was how do we create operational companies, enterprise value off of the real estate that we're buying? And so with that, we took the approach on the management side. Hey, let's run a management business of which collects its fees from these properties, and ran that as a core business, of which I know how to do. I was in consulting in my previous life.
Right.
I understood how to scale business. And so that's the route we took. Now, the details, which the devils are in, was certainly difficult, right? What do we do here in certain situations when the toilet's overflowing, like different things like that, and how do we manage it? And we struggled along the way, but we were all about action, go, go, go.
You couldn't have struggled that much if you got to over 500 in 4 years. I'm telling you that. And what about construction? Do you manage all that internally? Do you use third-party vendors? I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, so we started similar, right? Our idea and our philosophy is keep every dollar we can in-house, right? Create a culture of which we're building happiness. And so for us, we said, hey, let's also create a construction company. We're going to be value adding to all of these properties. Let's do it ourselves. And so we've created an in-house construction company that now does some third-party construction work. But we said, hey, we'll be our own customer. And so we have W-2 in-house guys as well as subcontractors that we use through a separate business that we run.
So CityLife, is it Real Estate Group or Realty Group?
CityLife Realty Group.
So CityLife Realty Group is ownership of assets, is management of assets for yourself and others, is construction for yourself and others, and then you have I think title. What are the other components of the group?
Yeah, so we've recently kind of rolled out a wholesaling business on that end. We were always so focused on just buying for ourselves. With the market change, we realized, hey, we have built such a lead generation machine. Let's not let that go to waste because we can't burn model these deals. Let's start selling that. So we've created that, CityLife Home Buyers. And then on top of that, have been able to successfully raise money on the private money side. And so we moved from hard money to private money. And we want to be able to continue to utilize that and make our investors money. And so we started a lending business off of that as well. And of course, yes, we do have a partnership for title on the back end, right? The idea for us was, hey, if we're going to be out there buying real estate, again, let's try to keep as much as that cost in-house and make money on ourselves.
Like a cashback rebate on a credit
That's
card,
what
right?
it is, brother. And so I'll tell you this too, what we learned from all of this though is we can't support business on the backs of other businesses.
Right.
And so with the market and getting educated in the space, which I can't talk highly enough of the network and folks that are out there willing to help, we've realized we've got to have independent businesses that are making money on their own. Otherwise, what's the point? And so that's the pivot we've started to really implement to be able to say, hey, is this business making money on its own or not? And if it's not, how do we get it profitable by itself?
Don't you have a RE/MAX office too, if I remember correctly?
Yep, so we own a brokerage as well.
Okay, so you own every part of the industry. Humor me, if you had to pick one to keep, which one would you keep and why?
Probably the property management company right now, because selfishly, I own lots of real estate that I've built over the last several years, and I want to control how we manage that real estate. And so for me, I have to keep that business because I don't want to put the fate of my properties and my real estate in the hands of somebody else. So that would probably be number one, right? But we have to realize from a value or a proposition or a long-term goal that the margins aren't great in property management, and we know that. And so from an economies of scale perspective right now, we're really looking at, hey, how can we really scale our enterprise value and scale our operations in other areas? But first, let's make sure we're stabilizing our management company.
So the opposite question is, if you had to shut down one, which one would you shut down?
I don't know that I want to answer that, right?
Well, there's people
I
out
probably
there that
have-
hear this and they think, "Oh my God, I'm going to go do that too." But then we all do these things that, like, you're like kind of like, "I wish I hadn't done that one."
Yeah, I would tell you for me, it's I love investing my time and energy into what I'll call jockeys at the end of the day. And so it depends who you have on your team. I'm a huge, huge believer in team. I didn't do any of this on my own. I can't. I have 24 hours in a day.
Right.
I like to sleep. I love my family. And so what I would tell you and how we're really looking at it is, what people do we have doing what, and how can we find the most success within that? And so probably realistically, it'd be whatever we don't have as much of a shot at with the team in place right now to be able to scale that business.
So it's hard to pick a business because ultimately it's the team. Is
Correct.
What you're really
Correct.
saying.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna be putting anybody on blast right now, right?
Somebody's listening. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I guess I'm getting fired." So, Casey, where is CityLife we get through the next 12 to 24 months, whatever this is, where's CityLife in 5 years?
I think first and foremost, CityLife is moving more into multifamily right now because it's an opportunity for us that we can still continue to scale our businesses operationally and investment wise. And right, we want to continue to do that. And our mission statement, right, is to build happiness, transform lives, and strengthen the community. I love Pittsburgh. I'm a diehard Steeler fan. It's my favorite city in the world. I grew up there. I'm not going anywhere. And so I want to be the biggest player in all of Pittsburgh, and I believe we can get there in 5 years.
Wow. Well, cool. Well, we're going to take a break, and then I want to really talk about kind of work-life balance. I want to talk about transition from corporate America. I want to talk about tax advantages of owning that much real estate, and then ultimately kind of just where you see the investor attitude and mindset. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for fast funding for your next fix and flip? What about leverage for your next long-term rental or vacation rental? Need capital for a new construction project? Look no further. RCN Capital has you covered. As the leading nationwide lender for real estate investors, RCN Capital offers short-term and long-term financing solutions for your next investment property. RCN Capital takes a common-sense approach to your loan request, offering high leverages and low rates backed by superior customer service. Whether you're investing in single-family properties or multifamily properties across the U.S., RCN Capital has funding options for you with no hoops to jump through and quick closings in as little as 2 weeks. Ready to get a quote for your next investment property? Visit rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today. There is no fee to apply. Again, that's rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Herriage. I'm still here with my buddy Casey Quinn. Casey, I want to dive right into work-life balance because to build a 500-plus unit portfolio and a company with dozens and dozens of employees in 4 years, it takes a lot out of a person. What is it as a business person that's allowed you to do that? Is it a team? Is it support? Can you just talk a little bit about your work, your life, the balance, and what it's taken to get where you're at?
Yeah, it's a great question for me because I'll be honest, I work less than I ever have in my life. I sleep more than I ever have in my life. And sometimes I even think, how's that possible with everything that we have going on? And number one, it's certainly the team. We have built such a tremendous team through our culture and through our abilities. And the other piece of it, I realized I'm learning along the way that you're only as impactful and powerful as what you can give that given day. And so you have to be able to take those mental breaks. Right. And so I've learned over time I could be so much more powerful and impactful in 8 to 10 hours as opposed to what I used to do in corporate America, which was 16 to 18 to 20 hours every day. For me, has always been all about hard work. And so you've got to stay focused on what you're doing in a given day. As long as you do that, what you can produce is so much more than just doing things to do them. And so how can you create the most impact every single day? I try to focus on that, and then I go get my sleep.
You know, you and I met at Kent Clothier's Boardroom Mastermind earlier this year. And one of the things you and I have talked about is how intentionally we give and listen in those things. And I think, you know, if we could all apply ourselves in our daily lives, our daily businesses, the way we do in these masterminds, when we're really paying attention, when someone's really kind of like invigorating our mind, and then we have an idea we can help someone. Like, I feel like so much of that energy that we get out of those meetings is actually just changing the way we approached what we were doing.
It's incredible. Yeah, I mean,
it's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's literally how are we approaching every single day? And for me, this year, as I started to get around folks like yourself and everybody else in the boardroom, I realized how intentional people are in their daily basis. I'm like, wow, how much time was I really wasting thinking that I was working when I really wasn't working? So, hey, I felt proud that I worked an 18-hour day. And so then I would say, what did I do today? Not much. You know, and so then you change your mindset and you say, okay, hey, I worked a 10-hour day today because it's all I have because I have a young child at home. I want to be present in my family's life. And they say, what did I do today in the 10 hours that I worked? And it's massive compared to what it used to be in 18 hours a day. And it's getting around folks that get super intentional with everything that they're doing and trying to emulate that.
So a lot of my guests on the show have talked about the changes they made in their life at the different seasons of their business, right? Where maybe when they're first starting their business, they may neglect their family a little bit. be gone. And then they realize how important it is. And on my personal website, it says the business is the vehicle, not the dream. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think, I mean, kudos to you that like you're getting more sleep, because so many entrepreneurs are out there listening right now. Their business is not performing the way they want it to, and they feel like the solution is work harder. The solution is spend more time, more emails, more social media, and I think what you're saying is that's probably the wrong solution.
For me, and I don't necessarily think it's the wrong solution. There's so many different solutions, and I think you have to really take a look inside of yourself and say, what is the solution for me? Me this year going in, aside from the market doing what the market's doing, I said, I've got to get educated. I've got to get around people that have been there, done that, because my business has gone to the point where it's a little bit bigger than anything that I was able to handle on a daily basis on my own from a confidence standpoint. Right. I don't know what I don't know. The biggest education that I've gotten this year is realizing that I don't know what I don't know, surrounding myself with folks like you, folks like Kent, folks like people in the boardroom. It's changed my life. It's changed the way that I approach things. It's changed the way that I think about everything that I do.
So what's the difference in being in corporate America and, in essence, owning an 8-figure revenue business and an 8-figure value gross asset value business? Like, what's the difference
for me?
For you?
For me, I spent 10 years in corporate America prior to getting fired and starting CityLife. The biggest difference that I find is you have to be able to create a desire for people to want to come to work every day. You've got to chase your happiness. And so me now, my happiness was, how do I change the future of my generation, my life, and people around me's life? And so there's a reason, there's a why behind what we're doing at CityLife compared to my entire 10 years in corporate America. That's when I used to work 18, 20 hours a day. And for me, it was always about getting education at that point in time. I don't think I'm the smartest, period. I'm not the smartest in any room I'm ever in. So I knew I had to outwork people. I didn't know what my why was other than education. And that drains you. It continues to drain you, because what are we really building? What is our real reason why? And so when you move over into the CityLife world, how do you create a why for yourself and then help everybody find their whys from a risk tolerance perspective? And I say it all the time, W-2 jobs aren't a bad thing. If your risk is not wanting to be an entrepreneur, you could find your purpose in your why with a W-2 job, and that's okay. It's about what you want and about where you want to go and about what you're after. And to me, that's how do you chase that happiness?
If you take your employees too much towards their why, aren't you afraid that you'll lose them?
Yes, I'm afraid that I would lose them for the immediate impact on that business. But I'm excited for them because I know that the value of which we can create long term for myself, our business, and everybody else around us working for our business is so much greater than what they're doing for us that day. I'll give you an example. My controller/CFO is spinning off his own company. Let's go. I'm super excited for him. And so we changed him from a W-2 to a 1099 2 weeks ago.
Right.
I'm so excited to watch his journey moving forward. I'm so excited. Does it hurt us? Well, we made sure we agreed when you turn to that 1099, you're still full-time. We're still your number one client.
Yeah.
But yeah, like long-term, we know we're not going to have him as our, future as far as what he's doing for us today. But I'm excited for it.
It's fun creating little mini entrepreneurs, isn't it?
It's the greatest thing. And I'll tell you what really changed it for him is Scale and Escape.
Oh, really?
Scale and Escape. Yeah, I brought him to that. And he was in Chicago with me at the boardroom.
TJ?
No, not TJ. Was in Denver.
All right.
TJ's still with us. Jeff.
Gotcha.
So Jeff's spinning off his own company. And it was the 2 meetings that I brought him to that's changed that. Right in your point of the risk of, hey, we brought him to these things and it's opened up his eyes and now he's rolling out on his own. But I'm excited for him. And I think it's going to add value to my life, to our people's lives within our company. It's just you have to think big picture, not and be short-sighted around where we're going and our why.
Recently at RC and Capital on the first and third Friday of the month, I've started having these things called the Investor Hour, where I invite a different person on to speak to our entire company. It's kind of the different coach in the locker room type approach, right? Because for us to really be successful, we have to have a service mindset. But when you have someone like Brandon Brittingham on the call, and he's like, develop your business and get out of the rat race. And you're like, well, hang on. We got 300
we
people.
need these people.
We need some of them to keep working next week. But it's like you said, some people have no desire for that. Like they want to be treated right. They want to be rewarded. They want to be part of a bigger vision than maybe they have for themselves. How do you balance that? Like, are there things that you do at CityLife that rewards people in the success or shows them that they're part of this? Would you say being the biggest in Pittsburgh? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you show them a path of growth in a smaller company?
Yeah, it's simple for me. It really is. Every time that I meet with somebody, and we've made some mistakes in the past with hiring, but the first thing that we do when we're interviewing and then when they get into the company, we write this down. What are your personal goals? How do we align your personal goals with our business goals? And we have to understand that. And sometimes they don't always completely mix. And so we say, hey, we're about educating ourselves. We're about creating fantastic goals and results, but it might end. Let's be open and honest about that, right? Your goals. And so we've had people come in our company says, I want to be you. I want to be where you're sitting in 2 years. Great. Come help us and I'll help you and let's get there. Other people are, hey, I'm CityLifer forever. Great. I'm going to help you get there. Right. It's about aligning those personal goals with the business goals. And if you could do that and understand when that's going to change, that says it all. That's, for me, how you're able to get people bought in and let them do what they're good at. That's the biggest thing. What are you good at? What do you want to do? And how can you make sure that you're happy every day when you come to work, chasing whatever it is that you're after? And for a lot of people in America, for people at CityLife, for people at other businesses, that's, hey, I want to come to work. I want to feel like I'm building something, but I want to go home at 5 o'clock. And I want to be with my kids. I want to go coach their football games in the evenings. Fantastic. Well, I'm just going to be honest with you. You might not be able to start your own business one day. I don't want to start my own business. I want to be a part of your business.
Right.
Fantastic. Let's do it.
So speaking of doing what they're good at, you mentioned that you had raised like $11 million or something.
We're getting close to 11, but not quite. Yeah.
And I mean, how did you know you were good at that? And how did that happen?
Yeah, I think for me, so year one, we didn't raise any money. I wanted to prove the model. First, I wanted to understand, hey, can we really do this? I was never an entrepreneur. I came from corporate America. I got fired from a job. I had no money. How are we going to do this? And I wanted to be able to prove the model. So we waited a year. At that point in time, I realized that there's a combination that we could put together of folks that have money that want to put it in safe places, and we need money. I can create win-win situations for everybody just like that. And so for me, it wasn't about a sales pitch. It's still not about a sales pitch. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's I can create win-win situations for everybody. And by the way, it's the same thing when we're buying real estate. I don't believe in creating win-loss situations for anybody ever. I won't do a deal if I'm winning and I know you're losing big time. I only want win-wins. And so raising money is exactly that. I can take your money and make you money that you're happy with, and I can make money off of that I'm happy with. But if you're worried or you're not going to be happy with your return or whatever that is, that's okay. Let's be friends and have a beer. But I don't need to borrow your money at that point.
So go from 0 to 8 figures in private money. How important was having accurate projections and following through on your commitments to get there?
First and foremost, following through is everything, no matter what. And I'm a firm believer in that, right? You've got to be known, liked, and trusted, and you use that all the time. And so we've got to create that relationship. Number two, you've got to know your numbers. So I don't know if you know this, but I'm a CPA by trade. I was actually in corporate America as a CPA for 10 years. We have 5 public accountants at my company. 5. And from either the big 4 or regional firms. That's how important numbers are to me. I believe accounting is the language of business, and we need to be able to speak it better than anybody.
A CFO would love you.
Yeah, and so for us, right, it was in that private money world, it's about creating the trust. Hey, right. We have 5 public accountants. We know what we're doing. This is our lives. And oh, by the way, by trade and by lifestyle, we're risk adverse. And so that really helps us as CPAs because we know and understand the numbers and we want to be conservative in what we're doing. And so, I mean, it's everything, right? Because we're able to provide that for our investors. Right. They're able to sleep at night and not worried about their cash. Well,
that's good stuff. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We get the money minute, some rapid fire, and then parting shots. Good to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
REI Inc. is a monthly business publication for real estate investors covering all types of real estate investments and strategies. It is the most comprehensive real estate investment publication on the market. All of the articles are written by the top leaders in the industry, so investors are assured of always getting the best information possible. Each month, REI Inc. also profiles the top companies in the industry and provides insights and data into key regional markets. Along with their sister platforms, the REI Referral Network and Highest Invest, real estate investors have exclusive access to off-market investment opportunities and national acquisition and disposition initiatives. To learn more, visit www.rei-inc.com, where you can also access the REI Referral Network. Also, be sure and visit www.highest-and-vest.com to view the latest exclusive off-market assets with near immediate acceptance decisions and closing strategies. You can also email marketing@rei-referralnetwork.com to request more information.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Herriage. I'm still here with Casey. Casey, it is time for the Money Minute. I'll frame it this way. There's a young person listening, maybe Casey before he got fired, that's at a CPA job. There's an investor out there that's struggling. Whatever the case is, they're going to get 60 seconds worth of advice this month. That's it. This is the only 60 seconds worth of advice they get to hear. So make it the good stuff. You good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go.
You have to think deep about yourself and what makes you happy, and you have to go after that. We all have 24 hours of a day. We're all going to die. That's what we do know. And what are you doing to compress that time and create happiness in your own life? If you're not chasing it every day that you get out of bed, what's the point? When you get so caught up in all of the different things going on in our lives, our business, the mistakes we've made, what's happening in the market, get up, get out there and chase your happiness. Compress the time, get the education you need, get the network that you need, whatever it is that you need to think about to go chase that happiness. Stop wasting time, go after it.
So that's wonderful. And it falls right in line with what you were talking about earlier about get up and go make an impact in the day, right? Like don't just go through the motions. Is that the theme?
Yeah, I tell people at CityLife all the time, if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed today and you're going to be miserable, stay the hell home. We don't want you around here. If you got work to do it from your desk at home. Come to work, be happy, and go chase your happiness. Go after whatever it is that you're trying to get because guess what? Tomorrow may never come. Let's get happy today. Let's go.
So we're going to get into some quick questions, I would say. You mentioned earlier you're kind of getting more into multifamily than single family. Do you think is it land development commercial after that? Do you think you found your niche? How are you feeling there?
Yeah, for me, not now. People ask me that a lot. Like, what is the end all be all? Are you gonna spread your wings? I'm not interested in ground up development. I'm not interested in commercial. I'm interested in what's safe. Everybody needs a place to live. They're always going to need a place to live, right? Shelter. And so for me, I'm 100% about that. And long term in my life, real estate's not the end all be all for me. And so maybe we get into commercial as a company, maybe we don't. For me, it's about business, it's about jockeys, it's about people. How can we create the greatest happiness for everybody that impacts my life and I impact their life? And what is that? And so for me, it's business. How can we start investing in businesses to help scale those businesses and help them find happiness? That is what my end all be all is. I'm only 34 years old. Hopefully, right, fingers crossed, I continue to chase my happiness every day. And I can get to a point in my career where I'm out there investing in businesses, out there investing in people, first and foremost, to help them chase their dreams.
I think so often in real estate, we tend to trick ourselves that we're special, that we're unique, that it's something that you have to, pay a guru to learn or something versus it's really a business that you have to learn to operate. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you a little secret that not most people know. I don't necessarily love real estate. I haven't been in a house that we've bought in 6 months. I don't find my passion going into those houses. I find my passion in the team, motivating the team, helping them find happiness. And a lot of them love real estate and love their job and love the education that they're getting. And that's why from day one, I said, we're not going to run a real estate investment company. We're going to run a business. We're going to create enterprise value off of this business that's worth way more than real estate that we're buying. The coolest thing about real estate in my eyes is it's a balance sheet. I'm an accountant. I care about my balance sheet being healthy. Whenever I look at companies, the first thing I look at to determine if they're healthy or not is what does their balance sheet look like? I don't care about their P&L.
What is your feelings on equity on a balance sheet? It's something I've been talking with people a lot about it lately. I just feel like we have an obligation to try to grow that part of the balance sheet too. Too many young entrepreneurs think only about the cash on their balance sheet. They don't think enough about the equity.
Yeah.
How do you look at recycling properties, selling properties, going for bigger ones? What's your personal kind of thesis on that?
From day one for us, and I think a little bit it's starting to mentally change for me through, the education I received over the last 6 months, getting into the boardroom and surrounding myself from a standpoint of like, you've got to have a healthy cash flow. But from day one, we were always about long-term investment and building the equity, building the paper money, as we'll call it for layman's terms, of folks not really familiar with the balance sheet terms. And we're still 100% about that. I'm about the future. I'm about long-term investment. And whatever can make me support my family today that I need, I'm not interested in anything else. We've come to the point where we need to make sure that our P&L is healthy as well, and we're focused on that from a cash flow perspective. But for our business and everything that I believe in, it's all about long-term equity, all about long-term value. When we talk about the portfolio we built in 3 years, it's worth $70 million. Now let's assume a 3% appreciation. Where is that going to be in 15 years? We talk about today, like, in theory, I probably could retire. Will I ever? No, because I've been able to build the equity. Right. I've been able to build that balance sheet to be super healthy, and that's what's fantastic. Now, right now, we know we're about to go into one of the best buyers market hopefully we've ever seen, and so I'm getting more liquid currently in order to be able to get that back up to cash at the top to be able to then buy more long-term equity.
What's the most you've ever lost on a property?
$120,000.
What's the most you've ever made?
$220.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this.
Which one was a better experience?
Feelings-wise, for my happiness?
That or education?
Both, I think, because here's what I'll tell you. Both deals, it's still short-term. We still own both properties. And so we're continuing to make money on those. And so the deal that I lost $120K was temporary. I'll make that back over long periods of time because I still now have a $250,000 piece of property. I'm just into it for more than that. And that's okay, because now it's creating cash flow for me. So it's helping out my P&L and helping out my cash flow. So even my losses can become wins if you do it the right way.
Crystal ball, how high do 30-year mortgages get?
Isn't that your job to answer that and let me know that? Listen, I think they're going to get into double digits. I think they're going to get into tens based on, I think December's coming another hike, right? I know March is coming another hike. And the way that I look at this, if they don't, fantastic. But we need to make sure we're preparing for in case they do, especially in our traditional BRRRR model method investing. If we're not preparing for that, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So let's prepare for it and hope for something better.
A lot of customers that I see out there are hitting their head against a wall, still trying to do what worked versus doing what works. Last piece of advice, then we're going to run out of time. What do you say to the person listening that maybe had that magic pill earlier this year and just is looking at the TV thinking every day, like, this is horrible, this isn't working out, what do I do? What's your advice to them?
Stop looking at the TV would be my first advice. So many of us get so caught up in the market and news. Number one, go look at the real data. And number two, how does that relate to your business? We can watch the news. I could listen to, information you put out there on a national level, but the reality is none of that really affects what's happening to me in my local market. So I need to be paying attention to exactly what my business is, my business model, my plan, and what are we doing based on what's happening to us that we can't control. And don't worry about it. We can only control what we can control. So let's focus 100% on what we can control. Get rid of all the other noise. Whatever happens, if the rates go into the 10s, the 11s, can we control it? Nope, we're not being able to control that. So let's focus on what we control. If we had to pivot, let's pivot. If we have to go do some different things, let's focus on that because that's what we can control. Let's stop wasting energy, stop wasting time watching the news about things that are irrelevant to what's happening in your business.
So I think ultimately the advice is also don't ignore the problem, right? Address the problem and then go do something, what would you say earlier, do something the next day that adds value.
I'll give you a quick example for our business in the last 6 months. We've built this monster equity, right? We built a fantastic balance sheet. when the market started to change, we started to lose cash flow on a monthly basis because we weren't able to do the deals. We weren't winning on our BRRRR models as much as we had used to be doing. And so we were ignoring that problem. And every single month we'd put our numbers up on the board. Oh, we just lost another $50K in cash flow. What are we going to do? Literally the next day we'd wake up and go back to work like we didn't have that conversation because we wanted to ignore it. Get in the right rooms, get the right people in your corner that are going to tell you how to call a spade and help you get through those problems and make massive changes in your business. Take action to fix those problems that day and do it now. And that's what we've been able to do successfully over the last couple months.
Yeah, so don't obsess over the problems, but address the problems.
You have to.
And then go out and realize you still got a $70 million real estate portfolio. You're still only at 34, and now we're entering into a time that we get to kick the market in the teeth.
That's right. Now we're cash flowing. We still have our portfolio, and all we're doing now is saying, hey, we know the buy opportunities. The higher those rates go, we know in our local market with what we're doing, it's going to create better buy opportunities for us. So how do we address that issue? How do we go get more liquid? How do we continue to get better partners, more capital, so that we're ready to go when that comes?
Casey, this has been great stuff, but we are out of time. Do you have any parting thoughts or parting shots?
Yes. Just like I said earlier, get up, go chase your happiness because tomorrow's not promised. Today is. What are you doing to change your life?
Like I always say, there's no such thing as a bad day in the United States of America. I've been all over the world, and there's some stuff I'd never want to do again. Thank you for coming into town. Thank you for spending the time here. We're out of time. Thank you for stopping back by. Thanks for listening. And just remember, your network is your net worth, and today you've been growing both. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.